Hey everyone, this is Ole Sharanki from Laddering Your Success, and you're listening to the LYS Podcast.
Hey, what's going on? It's Festus Amoye. Parents, you want to listen to this if you're struggling, trying to get scholarships for your students, if you're trying to get grants for your students, if you're just trying to figure out how to pay for college for your students, you definitely want to check out this episode of Steps for Success with me, Festus Amoye from Laddering Success. So look, we started out talking about cap or facts on our last episode. You see those articles where they pop up and it says this student got, 28 schools that accepted him and they got so many millions of dollars of scholarships. And we pointed out just one thing that was capped, right? Yes, you could get accepted into 27 schools or 28 schools or 30 schools or whatever schools. But the reality is if there's only one of you, you could only go to one school, right? Or at least one at a time, right? I guess you could go to one school, leave that school and go to another school. But did you know that's one of the main reasons why students take longer to graduate and they get a lot more student loan debt because they don't choose the right major and they change their majors. But that's not the only thing we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about cap or facts. And in the example that we used last week, there was a young man, they said he got $4 million worth of scholarships. And we said that is cap. Okay, it's cappity cap. And why is it cap? Because the thing is, the student doesn't get $4 million worth of scholarships. Usually in those articles, it's how much was awarded cumulatively from all the schools that they were accepted to. So one school could be giving them $30,000, another school could be giving them $20,000, another school could be giving them $100,000, right? Another school could give them a full ride, a coveted full ride. And what does a full ride mean? Basically paying for all 4 years, right? And so depending on where you go and how you go and what things look like, that could be different for everybody. But I'm going to talk to parents like my parents who were immigrants, came to this country, didn't have anything, right? But they push education and the value of education and why it was so important. And I'm going to also talk about what I learned getting $87,000 worth of scholarships and grants. So look, we're going to take a look at this link right here from Harvard, right? So if you look at this link right here from Harvard, it says that 55% of students receive need-based Harvard scholarships, meaning that the money that Harvard has, it's called an endowment, right? And what is an endowment? Basically, certain donors, alumni, businesses give money to Harvard. Harvard takes that money and invests that money. And when they invest that money, they get a return on that money. And that money that they get a return on, they're able to then pay out scholarships, right? So that's kind of how the school is able to give out scholarships. That's from the school, right? That's not from different businesses and stuff like that. We'll talk about that in another episode. But if you kind of scroll down, Harvard breaks down the different types of aid, right? And there's two main types of aid. There's scholarships and there's grants, okay? So if you look at what a scholarship is actually something that's merit-based, meaning you did something. So if you're like me, and you got in trouble a lot during school, right? But maybe you played sports. Like that was my case, right? I played sports, but I ended up getting in trouble a lot. I thought, hey man, there's no scholarships for me unless I'm super balling out at sports. And I was okay. I was an okay player. I injured my knee my senior year. And when I injured my knee, I just knew sports was not going to get me there. But the other thing is, I was kind of a class clown, and I hung out. I laughed a lot. I was a class clown, so I didn't really pay a bunch of attention to my academics. Well, the reality is, you could still get scholarships, but you have to use a different strategy. Okay, you can't use the same strategy that the person who got a 5.2 GPA on a 4.0 scale got. Okay, you just can't do it. And so if you continue to watch these episodes, we're going to kind of break down how you, even though you're struggling, you don't have focus, or you just don't know what the next step is. You're a first generation graduate like me. We're going to break down how you could get those scholarships, okay? So back to this Harvard article, the next thing they're talking about is grants. You can see right there. And so what grants are basically pieces of policy or legislation that give a grant or an award for a particular thing. And so that could be any number of things. And the most common grant is the Pell Grant. And so again, I'm about to drop a gem. A lot of parents, a lot of students miss out on scholarships and grants, particularly the Pell Grant, just because they don't fill out their FAFSA. So you want to fill out your FAFSA, okay, because that's going to help you get your Pell Grant. And in a lot of cases, especially if you're going to community college, A Pell Grant is pretty much all you need to cover that tuition. And so look, we're simply here to help you get that bag, help you get to the next level, okay? Try to really, really level up. And so we thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this, take the time to watch this. We're going to break down a lot more in the next episode. So listen, there are legitimate excuses for not going to college. There's no legitimate excuse for not getting an education. I'm Festus Amoye. It's Laddering Success, Steps for Success.
Oh, you're still there? Well, thank you so much for listening to the LYS Podcast.